Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 65 of the manga, which is called Hashirama and Madara. And yeah, really nice cover on this one, since we focus based completely entirely on Sasuke's side of the story, which turns out to be the resurrection of the four Kage, and obviously the explanation for how they can be resurrected, given that all of them have been Reaper death sealed away to basically avoid this very situation happening. And it's really fitting. You have obviously Hashirama and Madara, who their backstories are a huge focus in terms of Sasuke trying to gain insight into making his big decision about whether he should go after Konoha or actually try and save it and, you know, take on Itachi's ideals and how he views the village. But yes, this is an 11 chapter volume, I believe. No, just 10 again, actually. We cover chapter 618 to 627. The All-Knowing, a clan possessed by evil. Senju Hashirama and Madara. It reached. View, even, my true dream, Hashirama and Madara Part 2, and Sasuke's answer. So, really important volume here, in that, like, this is definitely the much needed kind of moment for Sasuke, in terms of, like, not, as has kind of been alluded to by Orochimaru since they've kind of met up in the last couple of volumes, of Orochimaru notices that Sasuke is very specifically not being kind of just manipulated by other people. He's not basically having other people make decisions for him. He is now trying to form his own opinion on the situation. He feels the natural thing to do is to take revenge, and that's kind of what he wants to do. But he also now, because of how much he cares about Itachi and how clear Itachi has been about how he considers himself a Konoha ninja kind of more than a member of the Uchiha clan. He wants to hear why that is the case from the leaders of the village, that being the Hokage. So that's what we get here. So the explanation for how the Reaper Death Seal can be reversed is that you have to get the Death God mask and then basically perform a kind of Edo Tensei in reverse, and because you have the Death God mask, you basically rip them out of yourself to kind of put their kind of souls back into the kind of correct kind of dimension where they can actually be revived. So he revives the four of them using some of the Zetsus that have been attached to Sasuke as the kind of bodies that the reanimation will be done on. And so we get the big moment of the four previous Kage being resurrected. So we have Hashirama, Tobirama, Sarutobi, and Hiruzen, I suppose, and Minato. So very important kind of situation here, where we have, really the four of the most powerful shinobi who haven't been involved in the war, given how important reanimation has been to the war, basically. And we get some fun kind of stuff here as we get the reaction of all of the four Kage kind of meeting each other here, and that Hashirama's like, okay, I know all of you. There's Sarutobi, my brother, of course. Who are you? Referring to Minato, and he's just like, oh, there's in the village, it's got up to a fourth Hokage. That must mean the village has been at peace for a while. And they kind of have to tell him that it's not great. Actually, I died before the third Hokage. And they're like, who's the Hokage now? And they're like, actually, it's your granddaughter Tsunade. And he's like, oh no, I spoiled her when she was young. Is she the correct person to be the Hokage? But they just kind of note that it is okay, even though they're at war. And we get a little bit of an interaction in that. Obviously, Tobirama, the second Hokage, is kind of responsible for inventing the Edo Tensei, the reanimation jutsu, and there's a little bit of an interaction between Orochimaru, and that Orochimaru is definitely playing the role of what he feels Sasuke should be feeling towards the Kage, in that you of all of the Hokage, Tobirama, you're the one who introduced most of the stuff that ended up kind of causing the problems with the Uchiha clan, and just Sasuke is actually quite respectful towards the Kage. He's very direct with them, in that he kind of asks his questions and kind of wants to know what he wants to know. But he is respectful towards them, and he's like, my name is Uchiha Sasuke. I want to ask you Hokage some things. And he asked the third Hokage, why did you make Itachi do what he did? And Saratobi basically goes through the situation that he confirms most of what has been said to him before, but he does kind of add in the whole idea of Saratobi understood Itachi and why he was the person who was perfect in a way towards doing this, and that he says he was a sensitive child who understood our village's past and our shinobi, and perhaps due to that, Itachi was never bound by the trappings of clan. He was able to think ahead about the future of shinobi and of the village, and constantly had misgivings regarding those futures. And he thought like a Hokage and executed his missions perfectly. In that he did it to protect the village, and he did it so that the third Hokage could protect Sasuke, and it's just this confirmation coming from someone that Itachi kind of has no reason not to trust, because he was just so honest with him. He has to believe it now, completely. And we constantly get that, okay, Tobirama is very harsh towards the Uchiha clan, to the point of being basically kind of persecuting them. He's very much like the Uchiha's cursed fate. I can't believe they're on the brink of extinction, so they even plotted the coup d'etat, as if he was expecting it. He says, I envisioned something like that would happen. It was bound to happen given Madara, and so on. And we get into an argument here about was Tobirama correct to make the Uchiha clan the police force in the village? In that it seems like that actually ended up isolating the Uchiha clan more than kind of including them. But he just says, I gave them positions they were qualified for. I believe that even if another Madara were to emerge, he could be dealt with right away. And he says, the Uchiha are a clan possessed by evil. And he says, the question Sasuke asked the second Hokage is, what is it about the Uchiha clan? What do you know? And he basically just says that the Uchiha clan and our Senju clan have had a long history of battling each other. They were previously enemies. And he says, there used to be a thought that in contrast to the Senju clan, who based their strength in love as opposed to jutsu, the basis of the Uchiha clan's strength was the power of their jutsu. However, the truth is actually different. And this is a shock to both Sasuke and Orochimaru. They're really interested to see that, Tobirama, who's been very, very against the Uchiha clan, he's saying that, the obvious thing with the Uchiha, that they have powerful jutsu because of the Sharingan. He actually says, there is no clan that feels deeper love than the Uchiha, and that is why the Uchiha have suppressed and sealed it away. And he says, once an Uchiha knows love, it is almost as if all of his or her previously checked emotions are released. They awaken a profound love and power that exceeds even the Senjus. And he explains that that's a problem because when an Uchiha who has known love loses it, it's replaced by an even stronger hate, and that changes them. And it's explained that, the more scientific version of how the Sharingan comes to be, when an Uchiha individual writhes in agony over the loss of a great love or disappointment in himself, a unique chakra gets released inside his or her brain and reacts with the optic nerves and changes the appearance of that person's eye. This is the Sharingan, the eyes that reflect the heart. So we've kind of always known that the Sharingan kind of comes out of, for the most part, tragic moments in an Uchiha person's life. But just knowing that it's because, within the Uchiha clan, they care so much and are kind of powerful in a way because of that kind of caring. But when they lose someone, because they have that power related to their kind of feelings, the negative kind of chakra generated by that changes their eyes into being what it is, and Sasuke demonstrates to them that he has the Mangekyo Sharingan, kind of, I suppose, noting that he himself has kind of been through a lot. And they kind of note here that, Madara cared intensely about his little brother, likely even more so than your brother. And, he's just kind of noting that, he arranged and guided things such that the Uchiha's power could be harnessed to serve the village, and if they did happen to kind of go awry, that they could be dealt with in a fair way. And they're just noting that, he did it all to kind of try and keep the village together, while also being aware that the Uchiha were a danger to the village, knowing the problem with it. And so he's reasonably happy with this explanation. We get more on the second Hokage as we go through, but he notes to the first Hokage, he asks the question, what does it mean to be a village, and what does it mean to be a shinobi? And this is where most of the kind of important kind of stuff comes from here. And he basically says that depending on your answer, I will decide whether to declare vengeance against Konoha or, basically make his other decision, like make a decision to more support Konoha. And it's interesting because the second Tobirama hears this, he's prepared to fight. And Hashirama, who's basically allowed himself to be kind of made fun of, be spoken over by Tobirama, just looks at Tobirama, exerts a little bit of his chakra that like cracks the room basically. And it's like, oh, this is why he's called the god of shinobi. This is why he's so powerful, because when he is serious, it is super serious. And they kind of, they note how that, like, in general, Hashirama is a really kind of good-natured guy, but he is scary when he is actually upset. So it's really, really interesting. So we get a lot of interesting things here. Like Minato gets the first little bit of focus here when it's noted that there's a powerful chakra in the direction of 2 o'clock, and it's noted by Minato that it's Naruto and Ninetales, that he managed to do it and fight together with it. We just before we go into, I suppose, the flashback section, we do get the idea that Tobirama notes that I invented the Edo Tensei, and because it's so close, you basically revived us at such full power, I can undo the seal just like Madara did. But it's noted by Orochimaru that he's actually kind of perfected the Edo Tensei to a point where it's different than the way Tobirama did it, so he can actually control Tobirama. But without saying it out loud in his mind, he notes that Hashirama, on the other hand, could break free at any time. And Hashirama just says, do not fret, I shall prioritize undoing the ill feelings that are binding this child. And he notes that that if he does ignore Sasuke here and doesn't answer him honestly here, that Sasuke will definitely become the next Madara. And so we get the start of the kind of flashback. We start off basically with the first half of the fight between Madara and Hashirama, and how just intense it is, how powerful it is. Susanoo, crazy wood style power being used, much more powerful than we've seen like Yamato use. This is a true wood style user and not someone with Hashirama cells basically. And then it looks like Hashirama is about to take the advantage when he uses this new technique called Sage Art Wood Style, and does this crazy Shinsu Senju veritable 1000 armed cannon. This crazy kind of wood style technique that just has like 1,000 wood arms to kind of attack with. And before we get the result of the fight, we do go into childhood flashback for Madara and Hashirama. So really, really interesting that they're going back this far, in that this is pretty much the earliest back in time that we have gone. And we get the idea early on here that, okay, Madara and Hashirama meet when they're young. They specifically don't tell each other what their clan name is, because they are both shinobi at this point in time, and they're specifically not meant to tell anyone what their clan name is, because it's basically established that this is an era of kind of warring clans. There are no nations really now. The Leaf Village doesn't exist. They kind of do establish that there is like the land of fire and the land of earth and so on, but beyond that there are no like ninja villages basically. They're just ninja clans that are all more or less feuding with each other. And that's what we get. Like when they go back to their own kind of respective clans, we see that the war is basically just causing a lot of death. And the most important thing that they present here is that it's a lot of child deaths, that the war is such a factor of this era that as soon as a member of each clan are able to fight, they are sent out into the front lines to fight. And we get the idea that one of the Senju members, Kawarama, was only 7, and Hashirama is beginning to grow very tired of this, that it's just kids being killed here in this war, and he's kind of blaming it on the adults, and like asking why must children be sacrificed to continue this war. And they get the idea that the leader of the clan kind of disagrees with Hashirama here, and we see how different Hashirama is, kind of asking these questions. And while we focus on Hashirama in the flashback, it's definitely implied that Madara is feeling more or less the exact same way about what's happening, like with his siblings. That he notes that he had 5, and now it's down to 2. And then come the key parts of this flashback, both Hashirama and Madara only have one kind of sibling left. Of course, Tobirama for the Senjus, and then it's Izuna, isn't it? Izuna Uchiha for Madara. That's his brother's name. And we get the key point here is just that Hashirama presenting the idea. I swear this shinobi world is totally messed up. And he kind of notes to his brother, can a true pact and alliance be achieved? And the thing is that like the leader of the Senju clan is almost noting that like Tobirama is a better leader because he's more cool-headed, but also there's very clearly being presented that Tobirama is just kind of going along with the way things are. He's not the one complaining about the child warriors and stuff like that, whereas Hashirama is the one actually addressing the true problems of what's going on here. And at this point we get the death of Itama, who is like Hashirama's only other brother apart from Tobirama, and it's this kind of sad moment as they kind of this is where it comes out that there used to be 5 of us, but now there's only like 2 left, and they they basically begin to grow closer and closer together. They begin to spar together, still never revealing to each other what their like clan name is, but noting that like they're both basically more powerful than a lot of the adults around them. And they have this kind of nice rivalry going on, but they also are friends. And we get the important point here of Madara saying, "I swear I'll protect him no matter what," referring to his only other brother who's left. And they kind of make the decision there that like looking out over this kind of forested area, basically, that one day this will be basically where we'll build a settlement together, that one at peace where our brothers won't die in battle and stuff like that. And they say here, that was where the village of Konoha would eventually stand. I made a resolution that day to endure for the sake of my vision. That's Hashirama kind of saying that. And what happens from there is that the adults of basically both sides, the Uchiha and the Senju, both realize that there's this friendship kind of blossoming between Madara and Hashirama, and they both basically research the other one and become aware that that's what's happened here. This is a Senju talking to an Uchiha, and they basically both order the other to kill each other. That Hashirama is sent out by his clan to kill Madara next time he meets, the same with the other, and they kind of throw stones at each other first of all, and when they catch the stones, it says kind of run, it's a trap basically on it. So they're both trying to warn each other so they can get away, but both have been followed by their kind of respective clan leaders and their brothers. So we get the introduction here of Senju, Butsuma, and Tobirama, as well as Uchiha, Tajima, and Izuna. So this is obviously where basically we start the rivalry between Tobirama and Izuna, as well as the beginning of the, I suppose, more fractured aspect of the relationship between Madara and Hashirama, who otherwise have been coming together and feeling the same way about the future, basically, that there needs to be a kind of joined village where ninja clans kind of work together, and so on. And what happens here is that basically Tobirama and Izuna fighting more or less caused the rift between Hashirama and Madara to actually happen, in that they're so eager to protect their brothers that they end up kind of having to like fight on opposing sides, basically. And they both just note that maybe it's just not possible for this pipe dream of ours to become a reality. It was fun and brief, but this is the way it has to be. But the fight doesn't happen here. Madara does note that right now Hashirama is more powerful than me, and they kind of move off, with the idea being that this Madara basically choosing to side with his clan rather than his friend, this sacrifice that he's made has awoken his Sharingan for the first time. And it's a big moment of showing just the loss that he kind of put himself through here. And we move through the kind of time period as basically they battled, they fought each in they fought each other every day, day after day, and eventually we get to the point where they had both become their clan leaders. And the key point after this is the day that Tobirama finally managed to defeat Izuna, and Madara lost his only other brother, and that's obviously what caused the situation where Madara truly kind of, as Hashirama says here, that's about when Madara changed as well. And we note that this is where he gets the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan from, with the idea being that I think it was said before that Madara stole Izuna's eyes when in fact they were kind of given to him here. But we get a really, really interesting moment here where basically this leads to the Senju basically beating the Uchiha, beating Madara, and he's down on the ground. They can kill him at any point in time. Tobirama wants to do it, but Hashirama doesn't. And they want to, Hashirama so badly wants to get back to a time where he can be at peace and kind of be friends with him again. And Madara is so kind of broken again, this is his kind of reality breaking moment, the loss of his brother. And he basically says, well, there is such a way to show each other our guts. Either kill your brother or kill yourself right now, and then we'll be even. I'd be willing to trust your clan. This is the last kind of branch of hope that kind of Madara is putting out there. It's kind of really dark pact that he's asking for. Kill Tobirama or kill yourself. And it's interesting in that we get the narration from Hashirama, and he says that Madara had given me a choice, an option where I wouldn't have to kill my little brother. He too knew how an older brother feels towards his younger siblings. And he basically takes a kunai and gives his farewell to Tobirama, gives his speech, carve into your heart these last words. After my death, do not kill Madara. I forbid any fighting between Uchiha and Senju. He's about to kill himself, about to stab himself right in the stomach, and Madara is the one to stop him. And this is the moment where he's just like, enough, I've seen your guts, and actually shakes his hand, and the peace between the Uchiha and Senju comes into play. The formation of the Konoha village comes into play here, and basically from here we get presented the idea of there needs to be a leader of this new shinobi village, and then the next kind of key issue between Madara and Hashirama is who becomes Hokage. And it's interesting in that Hashirama is basically I'm absolutely going to propose you, Madara, to be Hokage. That's who I think is going to be perfect for the village going forward. But Tobirama notes to Hashirama that it's obvious, it's going to be you. Everyone's going to choose you. It makes sense that you should be the one who's able to choose who becomes the leader, but the people have to decide. And Hashirama has to basically agree with that he has to agree that it's going to be democratic in the village. And it turns out that he is the first one, of course, elected as Hokage, and Madara is kind of snubbed by the rest of the villagers, basically. And here's where we get an interesting point. We get the whole Uchiha stone tablet, and basically part of what it says: one god seeking stability, split into light and shadow, and it is these two polar opposites operating together that gives rise to all things in the universe and applies to everything. And we see that basically him being snubbed as leader has kind of changed things. And he basically says that I reached out to the other Uchiha, called upon them to leave the village and leave and abandon the village, but it seems not one person is willing to come with me. So once he isn't leader anymore, he decides to kind of leave on his own, and is basically, snubbed by his own clan at this point. And this is why I suppose the Obito later on has to put forth the act as Madara of also being against his own clan as well. And he's like, I couldn't protect my little brothers, and it doesn't look like I'm able to keep my oath to protect my clan either. I'm not even trusted by the brethren whom I want to protect. And he's basically said, and he basically just declares himself an enemy of Konoha at this point in time. I'm looking forward to the battles we'll fight up until the time I achieve my true dream. And we from there kind of cut forward to just their ideals kind of clashing. He basically says that Madara no longer existed in the village we had created together, but in the world at large, everyone respected and shared and started copying our village system of allied ninja clans, which had been created by the former warring rivals Uchiha and Senju forces joining together. Our dream had come true. Shinobi children got to know about learning and playing instead of battle, and started living long enough to even know the taste of alcohol. But as if he wanted to destroy his previous dream, Madara came back to attack the village, and we get the end result of that battle. That Madara manages to defeat, Hashirama manages to defeat Madara, with the big note of like, Madara had always says that like, I always watch my back. No one's ever going to be able to take my back. And the way Madara is defeated is that he falls for one of Hashirama's wood clones and is stabbed from behind. And the big point here at the end, in terms of I suppose how it relates to Sasuke and why Hashirama is telling him this story, is this: I still believe to this day that protecting the village shall lead to the protection of people, shinobi, and children. I shall not tolerate anyone who seeks to harm the village, be they friend, brother, or even my very own child. And this is a shocking moment for Madara to hear Hashirama say this and kind of put the village above everything. And this is the fundamental difference between the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. And kind of the point that I suppose Tobirama was making. This is the danger of being like overly attached, that you begin to care too much about specific people when the village overall is greater than the clan, is greater than just one family or anything like that. And that's the point. And Madara says, you've changed Hashirama, but he made a resolution that day to endure in order to watch over the present. And that's the kind of main point to take away from this, And Madara just says, you're mistaking the cause for the end. It shall someday lead the village to darkness. And he says, I do not know how Madara returned to life now, but I definitely killed my friend for the sake of the village. So yes, the village Madara and I envisioned in the beginning is something that joined one clan to another, an invaluable cornerstone that created order out of chaos and then maintained it. It protected the children, averted pointless conflict, and made peace a reality. However, it also gave rise to darkness such as that borne by your older brother Itachi. Perhaps what Madara said was correct after all. Maybe he had foreseen this very state of affairs. I'm the shinobi who created these circumstances. Furthermore, I'm also the one who considered them acceptable. And I believe that shinobi are those who endure for a purpose, but depending on what that purpose is, a shinobi can change, just as both Madara and I did. And Sasuke does take this to heart. Shinobi are those who endure in order to achieve their goals. And he says, for me, Hashirama says, for me, which for me was village building, but it seems for Madara found something else, and that the plan of Madara to basically create a dream world with no shinobi and where everyone lives happily is going to destroy everything. And Sasuke makes his decision here to nullify everything that my brother, Madara's little brother, and all of you has striven to protect. Hashirama, it turns out my brother inherited your will without you ever having directly exchanged words with him. And he says, isn't it ironic that the shinobi who understood you most was a member of the Uchiha clan? And this is where an interesting point comes up. Tobirama speaks up and says, your brother wasn't the only one. One of my subordinates was Uchiha Kagami, a man a lot like your brother. And Sasuke's just like, I thought you hated the Uchiha. But he's like, no, it's not entirely true. I simply treated any who posed danger to the village, no matter what clan they belonged to, with extreme caution. The Uchiha just happened to be a clan particularly disposed to be considered such. However, it's also because they could feel such deep love that there were quite a few Uchiha over the years, like your brother and Uchiha Kagami. They could transcend the framework of clan and devote themselves to the village. Elder brother thought of this village as something that could eliminate the framework of clans. Well, not that it ever goes that easily, of course. And he just notes that Hashirama was naive. I made it my rule as the Hokage to try and kind of mediate between the two clans and try better. And Saratobi then notes that Shisui was Kagami's descendant. And just like the will of fire descended between all of us, he notes that his kind of failure as Hokage was that he basically, because he was so idealistic, burdened Danzo with the village's darkness, and this is where he reveals to him that he killed Danzo. Sasuke reveals he killed Danzo, and Minato speaks up and says that I was the one who was killed during the Nine Tails attack. If I was still around, I potentially could have stopped the Uchiha coup d'etat earlier. And so the question is, will you crush the village or what? And Sasuke says, I'm going to head to the battlefield. I won't let the village and Itachi become nothing. And so the reanimated Hokage plus Sasuke and Orochimaru and so on are all going to go to the battlefield. And this is really notable because Sasuke is fighting on the good side, it seems now. But there's obviously a little bit more to the situation here that we'll still have to see come into play. But it's going to be interesting because obviously Orochimaru is fighting for Sasuke now, and he has the whole, Team Taka with him as well to help. Plus, all of the Kage are going to be very interesting in it. We're going to see, obviously, Madara versus Hashirama fight. We're going to see Minato and Naruto reunite, and all this other sort of stuff. So that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.